Coming up on today's show, Tesla's API goes down for a while, meaning owners can't remotely interact with their cars, a whole load of updates from the Geneva Auto Show, and Nissan finally announces a launch date for the 2018 Leaf, while offering lease extensions to existing Leaf customers. These stories and more coming next on 10. Like all our content, today's show is funded by the in-stream ads on today's video and by the kind donations of viewers like you. Follow the link at the end of today's video to make a monthly donation to our Patreon crowdfunding campaign to help keep us independent and impartial. And if you're already donating, thanks for your continued support. It's Friday, March 10th, 2017. I'm Nikki Gordon-Bloomfield, and we've just blown past 10,400 YouTube subscribers this week. So thanks to everyone who's helped us grow. I'm truly honoured to have your eyeballs, subs. You know what I mean. We start today's show with something of a first world problem for owners of Tesla electric cars that anyone with an electric car will totally sympathise with, regardless of the make or model of their ride: offline telematics. Yes, earlier this week, Tesla's awesome telematics servers went offline, making it impossible for Tesla customers to interact with their cars from their smartphone, their smartwatches, or in fact any third-party app or official Tesla app. It's now been fixed, and while Tesla has declined to state what the issue was this time, the servers went offline sometime last year too, it does show how used we've all become to being able to check our car remotely, and now even the mighty Tesla can suffer the same problems as all of those other automotive telematics systems out there. We're off to Geneva next, where French automaker Renault unveiled the Renault Zoe ESport concept, a race-legal, high-performance, all-electric hot hatch based on the popular compact hatchback. Powered by not one but two electric motors totaling 320 kilowatts, one for each axle, the Renault Zoe ESport concept manages the 0 to 62 miles per hour sprint in just 3.2 seconds and goes on to an electronically limited top speed of 130 miles per hour in 10 seconds. And as I mentioned this week during one of our daily vlogs, it's got me pretty darned excited. Why? Well, as well as being the world's first all-electric hot hatch, the Renault Zoe ESport has been designed from the get-go to be used in competitive motorsport and as such is race-approved, meaning that Renault could be readying a Renault Zoe Cup similar to the Renault Clio Cup. And that, in turn, means that we could see a Renault Zoe ESport head to the market as the high-end, range-topping sibling to the Zoe. And while I know a bunch of you will moan that it's not a Tesla and it's not as quick as a Tesla, I'm going to remind you that in this case, speed and acceleration is just part of the equation that makes hot hatches so much fun. Enough said. If the Renault Zoe ESport concept is a concept car from Geneva we can see making it into production, then this next car is a representation of a vehicle that is about as far from production as we think is possible. Yes, we're talking about the Bentley EXP 12-Speed 6e, an all-electric convertible which Volkswagen's ultra-luxury premium brand debuted at Geneva as a way of gauging customer and public feedback towards the possibility of an all-electric Bentley. And while, like the rest of the Volkswagen family, Bentley says it's committed to bringing an all-electric model to market, the EXP 12-Speed 6e is very light on real specifications, such as range, power, charging info, or in fact anything important that would indicate that this is a vehicle that we'll ever see in the real world. Still, Bentley's trying, right? Staying in Geneva, South Korean automaker Hyundai has used Geneva Motor Show to preview its long-promised next-generation hydrogen fuel cell vehicle in the form of the FE fuel cell concept. Utilising its next-generation fuel cell technology, which is 20% lighter, 30% more energy dense, and 10% more efficient than the fuel cell stack used in the Hyundai Tucson FCV, the FE fuel cell concept claims a range per fill of 800 kilometers on the European NEDC cycle, just shy of 500 miles. But perhaps one of the weirdest features of the concept is a built-in humidifier, which Hyundai says uses exhaust water vapor to make the cabin a little more comfortable in dry climates, the opposite to the usual automotive air conditioning we're all used to. And while the FE fuel cell concept won't make it into production, Hyundai says the next elements of the car will influence its next generation production fuel cell SUV, which it says will launch next year. Staying with Geneva, Hyundai's sister company Kia unveiled two plug-in hybrids during the show: the 2018 Kia Niro plug-in hybrid and the 2018 Kia Optima Sportswagen plug-in hybrid. Frustratingly for us, there's no official B-rolled footage to share with you here, but both cars are essentially plug-in hybrid variants of existing model year cars. The Kia Niro plug-in hybrid, for example, which will be available in Europe, beefs up the existing Kia Niro hybrid drivetrain arrangement with an 8.9 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery pack for an estimated all-electric range of 55 kilometres, 34 miles, on the overly optimistic NED test cycle, while the Kia Optima Sportswagen plug-in hybrid is a European-only plug-in model with a larger 11.25 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery pack, 2.0-litre gasoline engine and 50 kilowatt electric motor, translating to 60 kilometres, 37 miles, on the NEDC test cycle. There's no word on pricing yet, but both models are expected to launch in Europe towards the end of this year, and the US should get the Niro plug-in hybrid sometime soon. I guess Kia isn't convinced the wagon will sell stateside, so if you're west of the Atlantic, you'll just have to review it as a forbidden fruit. Sorry. If you've followed Tesla for any time, you'll know its first car, the two-seat Tesla Roadster, helped gain lots of investors and media attention thanks to its sexy design, high performance and long-range battery pack. And since then, we've seen other car companies try to copy Tesla's first steps with their own two-seat sports cars, most noticeably British company Detroit Electric, whose two-seat SP01 is not only very close in its design to the Tesla Roadster, it's actually based on the Lotus Elise, the same car that Tesla's Roadster shares a lot of its engineering DNA with, but it also tries to match the Roadster in terms of performance, but fails on range. Well, this week we learned that Detroit Electric, which had been struggling financially, has been given a $1.8 million injection by a Chinese investment company in order to help ready its next vehicle for market, which, surprise, surprise, is an all-electric SUV. Is imitation the sincerest form of flattery? Well, maybe, but this particular company has a long way to go if it truly wants to catch up to Tesla, and I'm doubtful it will manage to do so. After all, this isn't the first time we've seen wannabe Teslas, right? After claiming earlier this year that it wouldn't be announcing its launch schedule for the next generation Leaf, lest it jeopardise sales of existing Leafs, Japanese company Nissan has finally confirmed that its next generation Leaf will launch in September and go on sale at the tail end of this year. And to keep hold of its existing customers until that time, many of whom are turning in their leased Leafs and heading to GM, where the Chevrolet Bolt EV is already available, Nissan is now offering to extend existing Leaf lease deals until the end of this year to help it retain customers and give those existing Leaf drivers first pick of the new Leaf when it launches. Now, while we still don't have firm specifications for the next generation Leaf, we do know that range is expected to be somewhere in excess of 200 to 250 miles per charge, and we also know that the 2018 Leaf will also have some form of ProPilot driver assistance. But Nissan has said this week that it expects that the 2018 Leaf will exceed customer expectations in terms of price, performance, range and features. So I guess we're going to have to wait till September to find out if that will be true. Ever since the Dieselgate scandal, we've seen an increased investment in electric vehicles from German automaker Volkswagen, doubling down on electric car development and promising a whole slew of new plug-in models in the coming years. But plans for one such car, an all-electric version of the European luxury Phaeton sedan, has been somewhat scuppered by the success of the Tesla Model S. That's according to Volkswagen CEO Herbert Diess, who admitted this week that the sheer market share, range and performance of the Model S has forced Volkswagen to rethink how it views what a luxury electric car should look like. The result? Volkswagen has made a decision to push its next generation Phaeton back until it can offer a car that matches the Model S in the marketplace. How long will that be is anyone's guess, however, and it just goes to show just how much of an impact Tesla has made on the auto industry thus far. Our next story actually happened last week, but I've decided to include it in this week's show because it's an illustration that it isn't all just doom and gloom over here in the US when it comes to the future of plug-in cars. You see, while the EPA and other governmental bodies are expected to dramatically ramp down their support for plug-in vehicles in the coming months, the state of New York has now approved a new $2,000 rebate program for all new electric cars and plug-in hybrids purchased by its citizens. Combined, combined with the still existing, for now, federal tax credit, this means that those in New York should see themselves saving almost $10,000 off the list price of a new plug-in car. A sizable amount, assuming of course that you pay enough tax to make use of that federal tax credit in the first place. So well done New York, and here's to more plug-in cars on your roads. Talking of getting onto the roads, that's exactly what autonomous vehicle startup Renovo is doing now, thanks to obtaining permission from the California Department of Motor Vehicles, DMV, to test its autonomous vehicle technology on the state's public highways. If you don't know who Renovo is, it's basically because it's a reasonably new startup. But if I tell you that it was founded by the same Stanford University team that brought us Marty, the self-driving, self-donutting all-electric DeLorean back in 2015, I'm guessing you'll probably remember the company. It's not clear what vehicles Renovo will be testing on the highways of California, but if you happen to see a self-driving DeLorean, with or without the flux capacitor, do let us know in the comments below. Last week, we brought you the disappointing news that Japanese automaker Honda was reportedly readying an 80-mile electric variant of the Clarity fuel cell sedan for market this year, complete with a terribly high, for the range at least, $35,000 price tag. Well, this week we learned that both the Clarity EV and Clarity plug-in hybrid are due to debut next month at the New York Auto Show, a debut which we're still hoping will reveal the EV range to be far higher per charge and in turn show the 80-mile range to be that for the plug-in hybrid. But while that's unlikely given Honda's past behaviour, we're still living in hope, because if that 80-mile range really is for the EV version, we all know that Honda just won't sell any of them. Keep your fingers crossed. And finally, everyone knows that Tesla CEO Elon Musk likes a good challenge. In fact, we've seen him take on several over the years, from betting with members of the press about when various vehicles will be launched, through to betting that Tesla's sister company SpaceX will have a manned mission to Mars before NASA. But this week we've got a new one, specifically that Tesla can produce and ship more than 100 megawatt hours of Tesla Power Packs to Australia 100 days after signing a supply contract with one or more of Australia's utility companies, or Tesla will provide those units for free. It's all part of Tesla's ploy to help Australia solve its grid stability issues by quickly deploying massive amounts of grid-tied energy storage, something the company thinks it can not only do in double-quick time, but also help Australia make the shift towards 100% renewable energy in its future. It's unclear if anyone in Australia has taken Tesla up on its offer yet, but let's see what happens next. Anything goes. What happens next here, unfortunately, is that I have to say goodbye, because it's the end of the show. As usual, there are some other stories we haven't covered in today's show, but we have put out a massive number of videos this week on our YouTube channel, so stick around and watch them when we're done here. As always, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Visit transportevolved.com for more cleaner, greener, safer and smarter transportation news, or join in the conversation on Twitter @TransportEvolved. And if you liked what you saw today and want to help us make more shows like this, please do consider making a donation to our Patreon crowdfunding campaign, a link for which is in the description below, and there is a clickable link at the end of today's video. Thanks again for joining me. I'll see you next week. I'm Nikki Gordon-Bloomfield. That was T.E.N. Have a great weekend, and until next time, keep evolving.